In 1984, a man auditions for the hit game show Press Your Luck. He's such a massive fan that he's been on a 3-day trek from Ohio to California just to be here. He's even brought a souvenir plate featuring the show's mascot as a special gift for the producer, Bill. During his intro, he explains that he repairs air conditioners, and in the summer, he drives an ice cream truck. The audition is suddenly interrupted when Sylvia, the assistant, reveals that this man gave them a fake name. It turns out he hijacked the spot of another contestant who was running late for his appointment. His real name is Michael, and he's immediately kicked out of the building. Bill laments the loss since he actually liked Michael's energy, but Chuck, the casting director, says they can't cast a creep. At that moment, they hear a strange sputtering noise outside. Bill looks out the window to discover that Michael drove all the way there in his ice cream truck, which now won't start. Bill is so impressed by Michael's sheer determination that he changes his mind. He tells him to get cleaned up and come back the next morning for the taping. Afterward, Michael visits a thrift store to find a nice jacket for the show. He secretly rips off one of the buttons and manages to convince the cashier to give him a discount for damaged product. Later that night, he simply sews the button back on. The next morning, Sylvia gives Michael and the other contestants a tour of the studio.
They walk past several fictional sets before finally arriving at the game show stage. Michael tries to take a closer look at the electronics behind the scenes, but Sylvia immediately drags him away. The contestants are then left in a waiting room to watch the show until it's their turn. Eventually, Sylvia picks Michael and 2 other players and brings them backstage. There, they meet the host, Peter, and the show's mascot, the Whammy. The 3 contestants are taken to their seats as the recording starts with a roar from the audience. Peter chats with each player and cracks a few jokes. Ed is the returning winner from the previous day, while Janie is a brand new face. Michael gets visibly nervous, but still manages to talk about his humble job and his family watching from home. Peter then reminds everyone of the rules. He asks a question, and the first player to hit the button gets to answer. The other players can then choose to agree or offer their own answers. A correct answer earns them 3 spins on the big board. Agreeing with a correct answer gives them 1 spin, and wrong answers get them nothing. For the first question, Janie answers, and the guys agree with her. She gets it right, so everyone walks away with spin points. On the second question, Michael gets overexcited and presses the button too early, guessing wrong. Ed nails the third question, and the others agree with him, giving everyone more points.
Michael finally gets a question right when Peter reads the 4th one. Before starting the next phase, the show takes a short commercial break. Michael begs to make a phone call, but Sylvia explains it's strictly against the rules. Once the break is over, Peter spins the contestants' chairs so they can face the big board. It's a massive screen filled with prizes and a light that randomly highlights various panels. Players press their button to stop the light and claim a prize, or they can pass to avoid hitting a whammy and going bankrupt. The player with the lowest score goes first, which means it's Michael's turn. Michael concentrates intensely and takes 2 spins. First, he hits $2,000, and then he grabs another $1,500 on a free spin. Unfortunately, his 3rd spin lands on the whammy, and he loses everything. Frustrated, Michael accidentally lets a curse word slip out on air. The production team is furious since they can't have swearing on a family program. They check the tape and realize they can't edit it out, so they decide to re-record his reaction. Bill starts getting nervous because if Michael keeps acting up, the network will blame him for the casting choice. Michael gets a stern scolding and immediately apologizes. Ed and Janie play next, racking up $4,000, while Michael uses the time to study the board's light patterns.
It's time for another break, and Sylvia guides everyone to the restrooms. A desperate Michael tells her it's his daughter's birthday and finally convinces her to let him make a call. Unfortunately, no one answers the phone, and Michael starts cursing to himself again. When the break ends, the players return to use the rest of their spins. Michael goes first again since he's still in last place. This round, his timing is flawless, earning him $13,000 and an extra spin. The production team is hyped, and Bill feels proud of his decision to keep him. Michael refuses to pass his turn and keeps playing, continuously landing on extra spins. Peter advises him to take a break before he loses everything, but Michael is in the zone. He keeps spinning over and over until he hits $28,000, a brand new show record. The crowd goes wild for the new hero, but the production team is starting to get suspicious. Bill gets so worried that he orders an emergency commercial break and summons Peter to his office. 2 makeup artists come out to touch up the contestants. Michael tries to talk them into a double date with him and Ed, but they immediately turn him down. In the office, the team tells Peter that something is very wrong with Michael. They want Peter to try and scare him by bringing up the mathematical odds of losing. They're hoping the pressure will make him pass his turn.
When shooting resumes, Peter tells Michael about all the times he's seen lucky streaks end in disaster because of overconfidence. He even makes a few jokes that indirectly imply Michael is being reckless or dumb. However, no matter what Peter says, Michael insists on spinning again. Panicking now, Bill calls Chuck and tells him to investigate who Michael really is. While the game continues, Chuck finds Michael's application, but it's almost entirely empty. He dials the phone number on the form and discovers it's actually the studio's own number. Chuck then remembers the ice cream truck and heads to the parking lot to find it. He looks through the window and sees a massive collection of fake IDs, license plates, and VHS tapes. He can't get inside at first, but a security guard helps him out with a crowbar.
Back in the studio, Michael has officially surpassed $40,000. The production team is freaking out, but they can't stop the game without proof of cheating. Peter calls for another break after Michael clears the $50,000 mark. Chuck returns to his office with all the documents he scavenged from the truck.
He finds a business card for a man named Lyle Roberts. Chuck calls him, pretending to be a court clerk, and asks about a restraining order against Michael. Lyle reveals that Michael used to run a pyramid scheme scam. When Chuck pushes for more details, Lyle realizes he's being played, and Chuck has to hang up. Next, Chuck checks the VHS tapes. They look like home movies at first, but he soon realizes they've been recorded over with old episodes of the show. Chuck notices that Michael recorded very specific parts of the broadcast. He returns to the studio and watches Michael's eyes as the game continues. Chuck realizes Michael has memorized the light patterns. That's how he knows exactly when to stop the board. Chuck joins the production booth and asks them to rewind the last 3 spins. He points out Michael's eye movement and how he starts celebrating before the light even stops. A horrified Bill realizes the random light isn't random at all. It only has 5 patterns. If someone watches enough episodes, the patterns are easy to memorize. Bill finally admits that Chuck was right. Michael is a fraud. During the next break, Sylvia hands out branded t-shirts to Ed and Janie as a sorry.
They won't even get a chance to play because Michael's streak is lasting so long. While Sylvia's busy, Michael sneaks away and finds a phone. He finally gets through to his family and his wife picks up. She's cold toward him, calling him an absent father, but she lets him talk to his daughter for her birthday. He's forced to hang up when the bell signals that the break is over. Michael turns around and realizes the show's mascot has been watching him from the shadows. Meanwhile, the production team argues about what to do next. Technically, memorizing the board isn't cheating, so they need a new strategy to stop him. Peter calls the booth and reminds them of the home player spin rule. This gives the team a malicious idea to make Michael crack under pressure. Afterward, Peter records a special segment for the home audience. He explains that for the first time ever, the show has run way past its allotted time. So far, Michael has won nearly $70,000 and still has spins left to use. He spins again, making even more money before Peter introduces the home player spin.
This means Michael will be paired with a random audience member who wins whatever the light lands on next. The person's name is on a card on Michael's desk. Michael opens it and is horrified to see the name Lyle Roberts. He's now extremely anxious, but he still manages to focus and hit the button at the right time. This earns him and Lyle a luxury trip to a resort in Hawaii. Suddenly, a stage light is moved so it shines directly into Michael's eyes, blinding him. He complains and Janie backs him up, forcing another break. Meanwhile, the network CEO arrives to confront the production team. He's livid that the game only had 5 patterns and demands to know who let Michael in. Bill saves himself by lying and saying it was all Chuck's idea. In the studio, Janie argues with Sylvia, feeling Michael is getting special treatment. When Janie mentions Michael's illegal phone call, Sylvia drags her away. Michael tells Ed the showrunners are trying to sabotage him because they know his history. Ed thinks it's just a coincidence, but Michael isn't so sure. Ed starts to realize that Michael might be hiding something.
Feeling the walls close in, Michael goes for a walk and discovers the studio phone is gone. Chuck corners him and asks who he's been calling, causing Michael to panic and bolt. He hides in his truck and finds that the lock has been smashed. He tries to report it to a guard, but he's ignored. He then tries to talk to a cop, but the officer says he's just there as backup for the studio. Michael sees police everywhere and assumes they are all there to arrest him. After sneaking around and finding no escape, he has no choice but to head back inside. He picks the wrong door and accidentally wanders onto the set of a different talk show. The host assumes he's the scheduled guest and invites him to sit down. Michael gives a heartfelt interview saying he just wants to have breakfast with his family. He says the only way they'll acknowledge him is if he's on the TV screen. He claims everything he's done over the past few months was for his daughter. Sylvia eventually finds him and drags him back to the correct studio. Meanwhile, Chuck meets with the team and is crushed to hear Bill blamed him for everything. Before an argument can start, an operator points out that the home audience loves Michael. They see him as a national hero and a working-class genius.
The CEO realizes they can use this for massive publicity. They agree to air the episode and promote Michael as the luckiest man in America. The game resumes and Michael's winnings continue to skyrocket. Chuck goes back to his desk to cry and looks at the phone he confiscated. When he hits the redial button, he ends up talking to Michael's wife. Back on stage, Michael passes the $100,000 mark, the equivalent of $300,000 today. The crew is celebrating until Peter announces they have a special call for Michael. Chuck has put Michael's wife on the air and she immediately starts insulting him. She says she's tired of his scams and tells him to sign the divorce papers. The studio goes silent and even Peter is at a loss for words. Michael has a breakdown and leaves his chair, forcing another break. The producers try to figure out who allowed the call and the sound tech shows a note signed by Bill. The editor suggests cutting the segment out so they can just keep the game going. However, Sylvia tells them that Michael is refusing to come back to the stage. Bill goes to talk to him, admitting they know his secret, but they can't legally stop him.
He tells Michael he's a star now and needs to finish the game for the money. Michael agrees to return, but only if he can call his wife one more time. He picks up the receiver, but realizes he doesn't have the courage to speak to her. He returns to the stage without making the call. In the next round, Michael shocks everyone by passing his turn to Ed. The crowd cheers for his kindness, while the producers watch in total disbelief. A furious Bill smashes Michael's souvenir plate in the back. They agree to air the episode once and then bury the footage forever. After Ed and Jamie take their turns, the game goes back to Michael for his final spin. He chooses to hit the button with his eyes closed. 2 weeks later, Michael's family is watching the broadcast at home. Lyle gets angry and turns the TV off before taking the daughter to school. Michael's wife turns it back on and sees that Michael won the entire game. On the screen, Peter asks what he'll do with the money, and Michael simply says he doesn't know. This film is based on a true story. After Michael Larson's episode, the network added 27 more patterns to the board. They also set a $75,000 limit for future contestant winnings. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications for more recaps.